joy to the world, okay? We have all come. That's what we have. And so it's so exciting to this morning to speak about joy, because how do we really know that we're experiencing it? You're all here, right? Right? Yes. So we are in a joy-filled room. Because together, as a spiritual community, we are filled with light and love and all that good stuff. And we're celebrating right now this amazing time of light, which is, of course, as I've called it, the Christ Mass or Christmas. And it is the opening of light to all things. And one of the wonderful things about joy is that we are responsible for our own joy. And we can choose to either be in it or be without it. But I don't know about you, but I think I like it. Joy is such a much better mindset to be. You know, one of our teachers of Earnest Holmes was Thomas Troward. And he was a very interesting man. He was a judge. And if you've ever picked up any of his books, like the Edinburgh Lectures, you will find that it is a continuous paragraph. Because it's true. He just keeps going and going like a little ever-ready bunny. It's like for some reason he didn't understand what commas or periods were. He just kept that light, that stream of consciousness that just kept going. But we're actually very grateful for him, because what happened is we have science of mind because of him. Ernest, if some of you don't know this, back when he was in Venice and he was actually, working in companies and that kind of thing, he had one of Troward's books. And so what happened is he kept expounding upon this conversation that he was learning from this book. And it was kind of like water cooler conversations. People were gathering around the water cooler and kind of going, Ernest, tell us more. Tell us more about what's going on in the world. And so what happened is, all of a sudden, there were a lot of people. And he had to actually do lectures. And of course, we all know what happened after that. I mean, here we are in Science of Mind. And so what we have learned from Troward and Emerson and Emma Curtis Hopkins, and I can probably have a huge list of people that influenced Ernest Holmes. But Troward was a very special gift for Ernest, because what he did is he gave him the opportunity to introduce to all of us what we call now new thought. And people say, what's new thought? Well, it's a new thought because there's no longer old thought. So what we're doing is we're thinking in a new way about how we see God. God in the old thought is usually Old Testament, punishing God with all the lightning bolts and heaven forbid you should do this or that, you'll be punished. Whereas in new thought, we look at that and we say, oh, we have such a loving God. And we also know that God dwells within us. It's not separate from us. And so we celebrate that knowledge that God is right here within us all the time, 24/7, 365. And so the gift, I want to say the gift of Spirit through Troward, he taught us characteristics like life, love, light, power, peace, beauty, and joy. And what do those elements have to do with us? They amplify our lives. That's what they do. Because each one of those is so important to what and how we live. Troward suggests that we have access to these beautiful little words. And we basically set up a normal standard. This is how we live. We live a life of power, peace, beauty, joy, love, and light. How do we do that? Well, it's called consciousness. And right now, we are celebrating what I would call the Christ consciousness, which is the Christ consciousness of, well, as Buddha called it, the enlightenment. And what it is, it's shining a light on how wonderful life can be with our journey and our relationship with our own personal divine self. What we realize is that God isn't out here, it's right here. It's the light and the love within us. You know, we could say that it's part of our DNA. God is literally part of our DNA. And the other part of it is, as we go through our journeys, sometimes we are ignorant to what this powerful, loving DNA is within us. You know, we're born with it. And what happens is we have this wonderful spiritual journey, or not, but we realize there's something within us that is a spark, that's telling us something. I call it that still small voice. We could also call it the voice of reason. You know, don't go there. Don't do that. You sure you want to select that? And what do? We sometimes ignore it, right? Because, of course, we know better. But really what that is it's the voice saying, I want something better for you. I want something that expands you. And so what happens is we sometimes misuse our power because we don't quite understand what is going on. So how do we use it? What we believe we receive. What we understand is with this, the divine power, that we can set our mind and our consciousness to whatever it is we want to create in our life. We can create a joy-filled life. Yes. How many of us want a joy-filled life? Yes, yes. So we take that knowledge of saying, yes, I'm positive, I can do this. There really is no room in my life for negativity. So I choose to live in the light and the love and the joy and the happiness. You know, Troward gives us clues on how to access our normal standard when you read, his materials. What happens is we learn that there is a process called reflection or self-contemplation, or I simply can call it meditation, which is a beautiful spiritual tool to use. And we don't often use it because we think, oh, I don't have 5 minutes to do it. Well, yes, you do. I do it in the car, and I still drive. Not with my eyes closed, of course. But what I do is I'm driving, and I just kind of get into this zone. And I realize that life is still going on around me. There's still cars going by. But I also know that I am in touch with that higher purpose, that higher power. And what I know is as I'm driving, even sometimes up here to Tucson, I say, okay, what's our highest good today, God? What are we going to do? What is our divine purpose this morning? And sometimes I don't want to know that. Because I get to the office and there's a whole lot of stuff going on, which I love. I really, truly do love. But it always makes for an interesting day. And then the opposite can happen. On my way home, there'll be something that, I need to do or, whatever it is. And I just have to say, you know what? This is wonderful. This is the divine plan for whatever I'm supposed to be learning today. And so what I'm doing is I'm choosing joy. I'm saying, yes, whatever rotten things are happening, I'm still going to choose joy. Because I know that whatever is going on, not only within me and the world, God is right there where I am. Earnest Holmes said, every soul comes into life with a gift to give, a lesson to learn, and a debt to pay. Well, I've got a little bit of a discrepancy with that. I thought, Ernest, really? You said to learn and a debt to pay? No. Science of mind doesn't do that. We don't owe anybody. And then I started thinking of, well, maybe. Maybe a little bit. And what is the debt to pay? Well, when we look at debt, we say there is some sort of loss. There's some sort of thing missing. And what I know is that I'm whole. So how can I pay a debt when I'm really not feeling like I'm missing anything? And what I realized is that it's my journey to find whatever that missing piece is that I feel is missing. And I thought, okay, I can learn to use that as the word debt. And I thought, okay, if this is supposed to be part of my spiritual DNA, it's like I was thinking, you know, in the Christian world, of course, you know, we all come in as sinners. And as I've said before, how can we be born of sin when we're created in love? So to me, that is like, how can we be in debt when we lead a positive life, when we understand, you know, what we put out, we get back, and, you know, all that wonderful stuff. I don't feel that I'm in debt. So I had this little argument with Ernie. And I said, you know, for one time, I think you're a little off. So I'm still sitting with that. And if you all have an answer, I'm always open. We are happy when things go the way we want. We are unhappy when they don't. How many of us have said, well, I'm going to do this, and then all of a sudden something else happens the opposite way? And of course, then we go right into our victim mode of, well, I wasn't meant to have it, and, you know, God took it away, or, you know, victim, 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 victim. Not really. That's part of the learning process. The learning process is for us to grow. And maybe when something gets taken away, so to speak, or we're not supposed to learn about it or know about it, then we look at it and say, okay, let me back up and really look at what's going on. And how is it affecting me? And how do I shift and change? You know, most of us will pray for change when actually we change, not the situation. We look at the situation and we say, well, this has got to be this way. Well, have you ever thought about this is the way you have to be? You know, we don't look at out here and say, okay, I can manipulate it. What we do is we look at ourselves and say, what is this that's rubbing up against me that I'm not comfortable with? What is it within me that I need to know more about so that I can look at it differently and I can be a little bit more joyful about what's going on? You know, joy is basic spirituality. It is. Joy is basic spirituality. It's how we are with our divine selves. Roger Teal, who was the minister at Mile High, he said this: when I say this life is joy, I'm saying that the basic essence of life is the spirit, and the spirit is joy. It's celebrating itself as everything that we are, as everything around us. There is a naturalness of spiritual gifts as being the only given when we say a lot of human experience could be suffering. Instead, not because life has set it up that way, but because we are out of alignment and we're brought into a lot of illusions. What are illusions? Things that we think are true. Things that we've made up in our heads. Stories. Oh, stories are so good. And we are the best storytellers. What we do is we decide whatever we're going through, we say, well, this is how it's going to end. I've always written the story, and this is my ending. What would it look like if you could write a different ending? But yet you're saying, I don't have all that I need to know. Right, you don't. And that's the best part. It is that unknown. It is that non-predictable situation. that what it creates within us is motivation. It creates within us to seek, to know more about ourselves. That's what it's doing. When stuff like that happens, it's basically asking us to go further, to know ourselves. You know, there's this wonderful thing that we all experience. And I was thinking about this the other day because so often, I mean, especially lately with all the crazy stuff that's going on, now we've got drones and we've got Syria, and I mean, we've got all this stuff just, coming at us. And I thought, back in the dark ages, before media, an instant gratification of, okay, we know what's going around the world, and it doesn't take 180 days to know. And now we can communicate through email instead of carrier pigeon, or snail mail, as it's often called. So what happens is we have tuned into this technology. And what happens is with this technology, a phone or computers or whatever, have you ever thought about how it sets your day? You read the headline of whatever it is and you instantly go, oh, crap. This is not good. Instead of looking at the headline or whatever's going on in the world, you can say, well, there goes another day, we're all going to die, and you create these wonderful stories. What would it look like, and I'm just going to use this as a connection right now, is the drones. I can't tell you how many, and I'm sure you all know this, how many stories are going around about these drones and what they are, what they could be, and oh, no, and I've got the inside, and they're interviewing people, and I've got this knowledge, and you kind of look at it and go, the truth will always be revealed. And what we do is our best ammunition for this is to pray, literally. To just know that there's a highest good acting for all of us. And though right now, yes, it's a big question mark and it is an unknown, and we say, okay, but I really want to know. Curiosity killed the cat, satisfaction brought it back. And the satisfaction is being able to pray and know that God is in it and whatever it is, and that whatever we're supposed to know, we will, eventually. And isn't it wonderful being uncomfortable? I know. Roger Teal said this, gadgets that are a symptom of our separation from reality. And as he asked the question, and I'm going to ask you as well, who needs more of an estrangement from life? Do we really need that? So when we have things like this that are coming up, how do we do it? We just say, you know what, God is right where we are. I know what I am, and I know everything's going to be okay. And it's not being Pollyanna, it's just knowing the consciousness. And can you imagine if all of us had the same consciousness of love and that this is going to be okay eventually? How much better we could look at life? Earnest Holmes said, everything that lives proclaims the glory of God. That's including us. We proclaim that glory and that divine love and light. And we are a light in the world. We are part of the unfoldment of the divine intelligence in human affairs. So when our consciousness is wonderful and positive and joy-filled, can you imagine it kind of spreads? Rumi said, God created the physical universe in order to manifest himself so that the treasure of his wisdom may be revealed. I am, and this is for all of you, the hidden treasure. He says, listen. In the same way, you must not let your spiritual reality be submerged, but instead must manifest your spirit in creation. I kind of like that. We can manifest our spirit in the creation, and yes, we are each a treasure to one another. And so each of us is responsible for basically passing on the joy. You know, I love that song, Joy to the World. And yes, it says, then the Lord has come. Actually, you have come. You have all come to spread the light and the love. And so, what does it mean this time of year when we celebrate, the birth of Jesus the Christ? And Christ was not his last name, so that's why we say that Christ, because he was an anointed one, he was a teacher, he was a rabbi, all those wonderful things. Basically, this story is our story. And it is about our joy. It is about our life. And it is the birth of the Christ consciousness within each one of us. Not just next week or at Easter or whenever. It is right now. And what happens is this time of light, it's called to our attention that yes, we are the light of that anointed one, of the Christ consciousness. The wise men, they actually have a really nice meaning of that we understand that there is one supreme power and intelligence in the universe. They represent us as the gifts that we bring humanity. That's what we do. We bring these gifts to humanity. And that each of us is the center of our being, of light, love, and peace, and of course joy. It is the divine presence within us that reveals itself to us directly. And when we think back, when Jesus was born in the manger, which is very simple, he didn't have all the bells and whistles and the comforts. We must remember that the greatest spiritual lesson ever taught is trying to tell us about ourselves, showing us that our background is really of no importance. All that matters is that we each matter, and that we are that loving and that light. Earnest Holmes said, joy is the laughter of God. Let's laugh. There is a song of the universe. Let's sing it. There is a hymn of praise. Let's praise it. There is joy, a beauty. There is a deep, abiding peace. Let's experience it. That's your challenge this week. And my prayer for you. Namaste. I love you. And so it is.